Overgrowth is one of my favorite action games of all time. It's a 3D brawler with anthropomorphic animals that features serious weight and fluidity. It achieves this through its use of procedural animation and a commitment to inertia. For instance, you don't control your character's velocity, you control your character's acceleration. Most of the things in this game are in some way physics-based, but it never hinders your control like most other physics-based games do. This applies to the subject of this video, Ragdolls, which a lot of games, very high budget games, still have a tough time with. Everybody loves Ragdolls. They're fun, unpredictable, and situation-based. Ragdolls have come an incredibly long way, but it seems like they've been stagnating for quite a while. Don't get me wrong, Rockstar's characters look and feel more real when they fall with each passing title. They stumble, they flail, and all the works, but to me, it's mostly to make their games appear more cinematic. There are a few problems that permeate through almost every single Ragdoll system I've seen. First of all, they don't have much of an effect on gameplay. Usually, your character tumbles limply until they come to a stop, at which point they trigger one of 2 or 3 different get-up animations. Second, the damage inflicted on characters when they fall seems really arbitrary. Something might intuitively seem life-ending or minute, but the game engine doesn't understand the player character or NPC the way we do. Now, what makes the Ragdoll system in Overgrowth different from these games? The answer is a lot of things. To start off, maybe the most important component is the skeletal health system. Health is not removed in small chunks from a health bar. Instead, there's a virtual skeleton inside each character. If any joint is bent too far, or any bone sustains a hard enough impact, that bone is broken, and the character becomes disabled. This makes your landing vitally important. You're also given a slight amount of control over your character when in Ragdoll mode before they're disabled, able to drift ever so slightly in a direction of your choosing. Now, beyond your control, your character has a sense of self-preservation. As a surface approaches, they will attempt to shield themselves from the impact. If they're going to hit a wall head-on, they'll put their hands in front of them to reduce the impact, otherwise they'll go into the fetal position. These 3 mechanics alone puts Overgrowth miles ahead of any Ragdoll system I've ever seen. The character attempts to protect themselves from damage they might actually sustain because of how they land, not just how hard they land. However, the Ragdolls acting lifelike is not the entire point, as previously discussed. How are they integrated into the gameplay? Given the skeletal health system, the presence of a wall or corner behind the character puts them in a seriously bad situation if they go into a Ragdoll state, making positioning important. In Overgrowth, there are a few things that can trigger a Ragdoll state. First, you can be temporarily weakened by attacks even if they don't knock you off your feet, meaning the 3rd or 4th unblocked attack might be enough to do just that. Second, it seems to be much more harmful to run into an attack, meaning that not only does position matter, but your speed and direction do as well. Ragdolls also affect those with steady footing. This often happens by accident, but you can trip your foes with the body of their ally. Or you can become disabled by hitting another NPC while in Ragdoll mode. At any time when in a Ragdoll state, you can roll to recover. Rolling away is a no-brainer when on the ground surrounded by enemies, but in the air, not so much. If you land on your neck or your back mid-roll, that can often disable or kill you. Sometimes, you're better off letting your character protect themselves using their hands in the fetal position. The trajectory, pose, spin, and position of your character are constantly presenting you with choices that you have to make in a split second. Your success or failure will make intuitive sense to you, as every intricacy of your landing is taken into account and determines your fate. Finally, the sound design and slow-mo cam greatly improve the presentation of these mechanics. Both of these help with the game feel, but their purpose extends beyond that. Both of these provide you with useful information. The sound of bones cracking creates a visceral reaction in the player, but it also gives you information on whether you are able to disable an enemy with a particular attack. You just have to listen. And the slow-mo cam, I don't have to explain why that's awesome, only happens when you disable the last enemy aggroed on you, letting you know that the current conflict is over and you can go back into stealth if you so choose. This system has quite a few moving parts and might seem overly convoluted, but the beauty of this system is that it's almost unnoticeable. You don't see every individual detail contributing to this illusion because the aggregate is so convincing and it all actually matters to the player. In other words, it's greater than the sum of its parts. So, what can other game developers learn from Overgrowth? Personally, I think the skeletal health system is just the ultimate health bar and should be used much more often. As far as general lessons go, however, this is the wisdom I think others should draw from this game. Ragdolls are already fun, unpredictable, and situation-based, but they can be so much more than that. Weave ragdolls into the vocabulary of your game rather than them just being a full stop, because it's so much more compelling if it's a significant part of gameplay. Okay. Alright, well that's how Overgrowth elevates ragdolls as a game mechanic. There's a lot of stuff I didn't really talk about here. The game has insane stealth mechanics, and I talked about a focus on positioning. This is compounded by the excellent parkour in the game. You've probably seen some footage of by now. Yeah, that's about it. I wish y'all a good day.